Why are there many currencies, and why are their values different from each other? And why do these values in the exchange rate change every second? $1 equals 25,000 dong! Interesting, right? So how? Why is every currency's value different from another? Why isn't $1 equals 1 euro? The answer is actually easy. In this video, we will explain currencies, exchange rates, and why every money's value is different. But first, let's very briefly look at the history of money. In the past, countries printed as much paper money as the amount of gold they had. Let's say the state has 100 kilos of gold in its vault. In this case, the state was saying, I can print money only up to the amount equivalent to this gold. Because actually, $100 million is the paper representation of the gold, meaning 100 kilos of gold equals $100 million. So saying, I have $100 million of paper money was actually the indicator of, I have 100 kilos of gold. This is called the gold standard. The current money printing system is not this, but actually this is the one that should be. When it was like this, since money printing was under control, exchange rates did not fluctuate much. But the world changed. Countries needed more money because of war, pandemic, wrong management systems, and they saw this system as insufficient. Also, since some countries did not have enough underground resources, becoming rich was difficult, because they could not print money as they wished. Actually, they still cannot print as much as they want because of the risk of an inflation explosion, but compared to the past, they can print more. After the 1970s, the world moved to the fiat money system, which is also the current money printing system. Fiat money is this. There is no gold behind this money like before. We did not print this money in exchange for gold. Its value is determined completely by people's trust. What does this mean? Meaning supply-demand. Fiat money basically means money that has value because the state says so. Did it sound a bit unreliable? Right now, the whole world uses the fiat money system. What determines the value of money? In fiat money, the value is determined completely by supply-demand. If there is high demand for a currency, it gains value. If there is no demand, it loses value. This is why the US dollar is strong, because people everywhere in the world use dollars. There are 8 euros and $8 here. At first, the value of both is equal because there are equal numbers of them in the market, and it is not yet clear which one people want. Now, however, 7 people have chosen the euro. There is only 1 person who chose the dollar. Now, the euro is more valuable, because there is only 1 euro left in the market. The value of something that is scarce is higher. As for the dollar, there are 7 of them in the market. Something that exists in large quantities has less value. This is how value is determined by supply and demand. To understand the subject, we should also briefly look at inflation and interest rates. What is inflation? It is the decrease of purchasing power. The 2 breads you buy today with $10, tomorrow you buy with $20. There are many big inflation examples in history. This happened in Zimbabwe too. Once upon a time, the value of Zimbabwe's money was even higher than the dollar. But because of mistakes in management, uncontrolled money printing, and economic crises, the money lost a lot of value. $1 became 600,000 Zimbabwe dollars. In the end, people had to abandon their own money and use dollars and other currencies. What are interest rates? Interest is actually renting money. The person who takes the money pays a rent fee to the person who gives the money. This fee is interest, and the percentage of this fee is called the interest rate. So why do interest rates rise? When there is inflation in a country, prices rise, and the central bank applies the tactic of increasing interest, because when interest rises, it becomes harder to take loans. People take fewer loans and spend less money. Thus, inflation slows down. Spending decreases and prices calm down. If money is being spent too fast in the country, meaning everyone is constantly borrowing and constantly spending, interest is increased again to slow spending and slow inflation. To attract foreign investors to the country, the investor brings money to the country to earn money from high interest. And what are the reasons for interest rates to fall? When the economy slows down. Let's say people are not spending, the rich are not investing. In this case, the central bank lowers interest to accelerate and energize the market. This way, taking loans becomes easier. People take loans more easily and spend. The economy gains movement. It helps reduce unemployment. When credit is cheap, taking loans becomes easier and it ensures more rich people invest. This means more employment. To reduce the debt burden. When interest rates fall, the state borrows at lower cost, companies' burdens decrease, and households are more comfortable. Let's get to our main topic. Now we can understand why every country's money has a different value. When foreign companies invest in a country, they must invest using that country's money. For example, when China opened to the outside world in the 1970s, the world's biggest companies flocked to China. They had to buy yuan to build factories. Thus, the value of the yuan rose. Why does a country's money gain value when a foreign company invests? Let's say Amazon wants to build a warehouse in Turkey. For worker salaries, electricity, water taxes, land, building, materials, they need Turkish lira. Meaning to invest in Turkey, they cannot use dollars but must use Turkish lira. Therefore, foreign companies convert the dollars they have into that country's money. When this money demand rises, that money gains value. But for the investor, trust is more important. An investor thinks, I am bringing billions of dollars here. Can the government change a rule tomorrow and ruin all my plans? That's why investors look at three things. 1. If there are constant riots, elections, crises, the investor gets scared. 2. The guarantee that rules will not change overnight, meaning taxes will not suddenly multiply, the foreign company will not be expelled, foreign exchange transactions will not be stopped. If this trust does not exist, foreign investors do not come. 3. A solid economy. If inflation rises too much and the currency constantly loses value, the investor says, my money melts here, and does not come. Export-import balance. When a country exports, other countries have to buy its currency. This increases that money's value. For example, since Japan sells cars with yen currency, demand for yen increases. The USA makes agreements so that oil is bought only with dollars. Everyone converts their money to dollars to buy oil, and since demand for the dollar increases, its value also increases. This system is called petrodollar. In some weak countries, production is low, so they cannot export much. That's why the value of their currencies is low, and they generally use dollars. Fixed exchange rate. Some countries peg their currency's value to a strong currency, and no matter what happens, it stays at the fixed value. For example, 1 Belize dollar equals 0.5 US dollar. So how do they keep it fixed? Normally, exchange prices are determined by supply and demand in the market. But in this system, the state's central bank does this. When the dollar sees high demand, the state sells dollars to the market so the dollar does not gain value. Thus, demand becomes balanced and its value does not rise. When the dollar loses value, the state buys dollars from the market so its own fixed currency does not fall. Meaning, the central bank constantly buys and sells currency to fix the exchange rate. This system is very orderly but risky. If the strong currency falls, you fall too. So why don't all countries use the same currency? Because using the same currency means all countries' economies become connected to each other. The euro is an example of this. When Greece collapsed, even Germany was affected. If the whole world uses the same money, one country's mistake affects the whole world's economy and crises can occur. And now the thing that determines the value of money is not gold. It is trust, supply-demand, economy, investment, and the stability of the country. That's why the world is full of different currencies and different exchange rates.